Welcome to another deep dive. We get all sorts of interesting source material for these deep dives, but today is really unique.
It is.
We're diving into excerpts from a self-help book, and
Uh,
here's the twist. It's written by a teenager,
oh, wow.
for teenagers.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It,
so
it's
it's pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
So we get this
This is great.
raw, unfiltered perspective on how young people today see the world, the pressures they face, and what they aspire to.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating here is just how much it makes you realize that even though times change, a lot of the core experiences of being a teenager, they kind of stay the same.
Totally. And let me tell you, he does not shy away from the big stuff. We're
Yeah.
talking peer pressure, confidence, even financial literacy,
Wow.
all things you wouldn't expect a teenager to be talking about, let alone have advice on.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
One of the first things that jumped out at me was just his emphasis on perspective,
Okay.
and especially during adolescence.
So,
He argues that it's this really crucial phase where everything feels amplified because you're going through so many changes.
okay, let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah,
He talks about those classic teenage struggles, right? Like feeling misunderstood, the pressure to fit in,
right.
all while you're trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah,
It's like you're navigating a maze blindfolded.
exactly. And he even connects this to the psychological concept of conformity.
Oh, interesting.
He even references the Asch conformity experiment.
Remind me what that is again.
Yeah. So that's the one where they asked people to judge line lengths,
Yeah.
and the participants ended up conforming to the group's obviously incorrect answer just because everyone else was saying it.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's like that feeling when you're in a group and someone says something totally off the wall, but nobody else is reacting, so you start doubting yourself. Like, wait, am I the one
Yes.
missing something here? It's
Yeah.
like so powerful.
It is.
Especially at that age.
Social influence is huge, especially during those formative years.
So what's his solution, though? Because
He has one.
let's be honest, we've all caved at some point to peer pressure, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what I find interesting is that his solution is something he calls the third ray.
The third ray. Okay.
It's all about seeking a third unbiased perspective to gain clarity when you're feeling stuck or pressured.
You know, that's something I can get behind.
Okay.
I don't know about calling it the third ray,
Right.
but I've totally used that strategy before.
Yeah.
Where you just need that outside perspective to see things more clearly.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging that our own viewpoints, especially as teenagers, can be limited by our experiences.
Yeah.
And sometimes seeking guidance from mentors or those who have, different experiences can be so valuable.
It's like having a sneak peek into the future, right? To see how your choices might play out
Exactly.
from someone who's been there.
Yeah.
Speaking of choices,
Okay.
this young author,
Yeah.
he doesn't just dwell on feelings and perspectives.
Right.
He dives headfirst into self-improvement with a big emphasis on the believe to achieve mentality.
And he uses a really compelling analogy to illustrate this. He compares a child to a sapling,
Okay, I like where this is going.
and he argues that self-belief and confidence, those are like the nutrients for a growing plant.
You need those essential elements to thrive.
Exactly.
It's like that inner voice saying, you've got this, you can do it.
That's it. That's the voice.
It's so important to cultivate that inner cheerleader, especially when you're facing challenges. And, teenagers, they face a lot of challenges.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, and this is where it gets even more interesting, he doesn't stop at just believing.
Okay.
He also emphasizes that action is just as crucial.
Oh, I like that.
It can't just be belief.
Yeah.
It has to be action too.
It's like they say faith without works is dead, right?
Exactly.
You can't just wish for something to happen.
Right.
You have to take those steps to make it a reality.
Absolutely. And this really aligns with the concept of self-efficacy,
Okay.
which is the belief in your own ability to achieve goals.
And that goes hand in hand with the growth mindset too, right?
It does.
That idea that your abilities, they're not fixed.
Exactly.
You can learn and develop them over time.
Mm.
It's not about being born smart or talented, but it's about putting in the effort and dedication to cultivate those skills.
And speaking of cultivation,
Okay.
he ventures into some pretty intriguing territory
Yeah.
with this chapter on the power of positivity.
Oh, yeah. This is where I was like, hold on. Is this teenager seriously dropping knowledge about the Emoto water experiment? That's next level.
I know, right? It's fascinating how he connects these big ideas
Yeah.
to real-world examples.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, the Emoto water experiment
Yeah.
involved exposing water crystals to different words, music, even intentions.
And the idea is that positive intentions led to these like beautiful symmetrical crystals forming,
Yeah.
and then negative intentions
Right.
resulted in these kind of chaotic, disorganized formations.
Precisely.
So wild.
It's a trip. Now, it's important to approach this experiment with a healthy dose of scientific skepticism.
Of course, of course.
The methodology and the interpretations have been widely debated.
Right, right. We're not saying that this is definitive proof that positive thinking can magically change your life or anything.
Right.
But it makes you think.
It really does make
It
you
does.
play.
It speaks to the potential influence our thoughts and intentions might have on not just ourselves, but on our environment as well.
It's that whole mind over matter idea, like maybe our thoughts have more power than we realize. Exactly. And while we tread carefully around any definitive scientific claims,
Sure.
it is worth noting that the field of positive psychology has documented numerous benefits associated with practices like mindfulness, gratitude, optimism.
So for our listener, this doesn't mean you have to start, meditating for hours on end or whispering affirmations to your houseplants.
Although, there's nothing wrong with a little plant whispering.
Oh, true, true. But on a more serious note, it's about cultivating those positive habits,
Yes.
being mindful of your self-talk,
Yes.
and recognizing that even small shifts in perspective can have a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And you know what this leads perfectly into?
What's that?
His next point, which I find incredibly insightful for a teenager.
Okay, what's that?
He emphasizes financial literacy and building healthy money habits from a young age.
Which is huge.
It is.
This isn't something they typically teach in school,
No.
but it's so important.
It is.
And he really gets into it,
He does.
talking about things like compound interest.
Yeah.
He uses the classic wheat and chessboard problem to illustrate it.
Oh, that's a good one.
For our listener, imagine this. You have a single grain of wheat on the first square of a chessboard,
Okay.
and then you keep doubling it on each subsequent square.
Yep.
By the time you get to the end of the chessboard,
Yeah.
you're dealing with an astronomical amount of wheat.
It's a lot of wheat.
It seems impossible.
Right.
But that's the power of compounding.
It really is.
And that's what he's trying to get across.
Yeah.
Even small, consistent investments, given enough time,
Yeah.
lead to some crazy growth.
It's true.
It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
I like that one.
He's urging teenagers not to wait to start thinking about their financial futures.
And you know what I really appreciate about this? Is that he gives practical advice on how to get started.
Okay, like what?
Even with just pocket money. He mentions things like SIPs,
Yeah.
systematic investment plans,
Okay.
as a way to start small and stay consistent.
So even if you're not rolling in dough as a teenager,
Right.
there are still ways to get into the investing game.
Absolutely.
I wish someone had told me that back in the day.
Right.
I know, right?
He's all about making investing accessible, which is great.
Love that.
Yeah. And he doesn't shy away from the risks either.
Okay, good. It's good.
Yeah. He talks about cryptocurrency, for example,
Right.
and how it's crucial to do your research and understand the potential downsides before jumping in head first.
That's so important, especially for young people who are just starting out and might get, caught up in the hype.
Absolutely.
So it's about being informed and making responsible decisions.
Precisely. He even takes this concept of compounding beyond just money.
Okay.
He talks about the compounding of habits,
Oh, interesting.
both good and bad.
I like that.
Like those small everyday choices we make, they add up over time.
Okay, break this down for me.
Okay, so he uses this simple formula. 1.01 to the power of 365 equals 37.7.
Okay, and what does that illustrate?
That illustrates how a tiny 1% improvement each day, compounded over a year, leads to nearly 38 times the growth.
Wow, that's actually really motivating. But I'm guessing it works both ways, right?
Exactly.
The bad habits can compound too.
They do.
Okay.
He's shining a light on those seemingly insignificant choices that we make.
Oh,
Hitting that snooze button instead of getting up for that run.
right, right.
Scrolling through social media for hours instead of working on that project we've been putting off.
It's all those little things that add up.
They do.
Yeah.
Every single day.
That's such a good reminder that we have the power to choose.
We do.
Every single day.
Every single day.
We can choose the habits that will help us grow and the ones that might hold us back.
Precisely. And he doesn't just stop at habits.
Okay.
He also talks about failure.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a lot of self-help books kind of shy away from that, but he tackles it head on,
I like that.
arguing that failure isn't the opposite of success, but a stepping stone to it.
Okay, I love that he's challenging the traditional definition of success. So how does he make his point? Are there examples?
He shares stories of people who faced massive rejection and setbacks early in their careers.
Like,
J.K. Rowling getting rejected by multiple publishers for Harry Potter.
oh, wow.
Stephen King having a nail on his wall for all the rejection slips he got.
Okay, but they both obviously went on to have, like, incredible careers.
Exactly, and that's his point.
Gotcha.
He even quotes Morihei Ueshiba, the founder of Aikido, saying, "Failure is the key to success. Each mistake teaches us something."
It's a powerful reminder that setbacks are inevitable.
They are.
They're gonna happen, but they offer invaluable lessons
They do.
if we're willing to learn from them.
Absolutely.
So instead of letting those setbacks derail us, he's encouraging us to dust ourselves off.
Yeah.
Figure out what went wrong and use those experiences to grow.
Exactly.
And he even talks about the importance of forgiveness, right?
He does.
Both for ourselves and for others.
Because everyone makes mistakes.
Right, it's part of being human.
It is.
Holding on to guilt and resentment only holds us back.
It does. It eats away at you.
He seems to be advocating for a very growth-oriented mindset, embracing challenges, learning from mistakes, and using those experiences to become more resilient.
Exactly. And he applies this same mindset to the way we present ourselves to the world.
Okay, how so?
He talks about the importance of attitude and how it shapes not only our own experiences, but also how others perceive us.
Okay, so how does he suggest we cultivate a more positive attitude, especially when, like we were talking about earlier, teenagers face a lot of challenges?
He uses a great example of someone walking into a room.
Okay.
Imagine someone hunched over, messy hair, frowning, and then picture someone else walking in, head held high, a smile on their face, making eye contact.
Oh, yeah, the energy shift is palpable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He even talks about the science behind it.
Oh, really?
Smiling, for example, not only makes us more approachable to others, but it also releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting and stress-reducing effects.
So it's not just about being polite, it's actually good for us.
It is.
Yeah.
And he emphasizes that a positive attitude is also about our actions.
Okay, like what?
Being courteous, listening attentively, and showing respect to everyone, regardless of their age or background.
He makes a good point. A little kindness can go a long way.
It really can.
So how do we put this into practice? How do we actually shift our attitude in a meaningful way?
Well, he suggests finding an accountability partner.
An accountability partner, okay.
Someone you trust who can help you stay on track with your goals.
So like a built-in support system?
Exactly. It could be a friend, a family member, a mentor, anyone who can offer encouragement, hold you accountable, and celebrate your wins with you.
I love that.
Having someone to share the journey with can make a world of difference.
It's like having your own personal cheering squad.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, this young author, he sounds like he's got a pretty awesome cheering squad himself.
Right.
I mean, who else is encouraging a teenager to write about financial literacy?
Right. It's pretty remarkable.
And he doesn't just skim the surface.
No, he doesn't.
He dives deep.
He does.
Talking about things like compound interest, investing, even starting your own business.
Yeah, he's got big goals.
It reminds me of that saying, if you don't learn to manage your money, someone else will learn to mismanage it for you.
That's a good one.
But he's not just telling teens to save every penny, is he?
Not at all. He also talks about the importance of giving back.
Oh, right.
Using your resources to make a positive impact.
I like that.
He highlights the idea that true success isn't just about financial wealth.
Right.
It's about living a life that's aligned with your values.
Which should include.
And that includes making a difference in the world.
It's clear this author is wise beyond his years.
Absolutely. And what I find particularly inspiring is that he doesn't just preach these ideas, he embodies them.
Oh, that's great.
He's walking the talk, demonstrating that you don't have to wait until you're older to start living a meaningful and impactful life.
He's like a walking, talking example of his own principles.
Exactly. He's showing his peers that it's okay to be ambitious, to dream big, and to pursue your passions with everything you've got.
And to top it all off, he's urging them to inspire others along the way.
It's like a ripple effect of positivity and action.
I love that.
And for our listener, I think that's the most important takeaway from this deep dive.
What's that?
It's a call to action.
Okay.
An invitation to reflect on your own life, your habits, your choices, your aspirations. And to ask yourself, what small step can I take today to move closer to the life I want to live?
It's about recognizing that we all have the power to create positive change, both in our own lives and in the world around us.
Exactly, and it starts with that first step, that commitment to growth and action.
Love it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what resonated most with you? What's that one idea you're going to carry with you today?
That's a great question for all of us to ponder. For me, it's the reminder that wisdom can come from the most unexpected places.
That's true.
Who knew a teenager's self-help book would be so insightful and thought-provoking?
Right.
It's a good reminder to never underestimate the power of a fresh perspective.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Ooh, I like that.
What will be your first step today?
Thanks for joining us on this inspiring deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep growing. It really hammers home the point that even small, consistent investments, given enough time, can lead to some crazy growth. It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Exactly.
He's urging teenagers not to wait to start thinking about their financial futures.
Yeah. And, he doesn't just leave it there as like a vague,
Right.
piece of advice.
Right.
He actually says what to do.
Yeah, like how?
Yeah.
How do you actually, as a teenager, start thinking about your financial future?
Well, he talks about...
Besides, like, getting a job, which, let's be honest,
Right.
not all teenagers can or want to do.
Especially now with, all the stuff online.
Right.
And all of that. So
Yeah.
it's definitely different.
It's different.
But he talks about, for example, STs,
SAPs. Okay.
systematic investment plans, and how those are a good way to start small
Okay.
and stay consistent, even with just pocket money.
So even if you're not rolling in dough as a teenager,
Right.
there are still ways to get into the investing game.
Absolutely.
Man, I wish someone had told me that back in the day.
I know, right?
I know, right?
It's like...
It's never too early to start.
No, it's not. And I like that he doesn't shy away from the risks either.
Oh, that's good.
He talks about cryptocurrency, for example,
Okay.
and how it's important to do your research
Right.
and understand the potential downsides before,
Jumping in head first.
jumping in head first.
Right.
So he's not saying...
Which a lot of teenagers
Right.
or young people do.
Yeah, they get caught up in the hype.
It's all about being informed and making responsible decisions, which is such a good lesson.
Absolutely. And he takes this idea of compounding beyond just money, which I think is fascinating.
Oh, okay. How so?
He talks about the compounding of habits,
Oh, interesting.
both good and bad.
Like-
It's like those small everyday choices that we make. They add up over time just like compound interest.
Okay, so break it down for me. What does that actually look like, the compounding of habits?
So he uses this simple formula. It's 1.01 to the power of 365, which equals 37.7.
Okay, and what does that represent?
That shows you how just a tiny 1% improvement each day,
Okay.
compounded over a year, and it leads to nearly 38 times the growth.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's actually really motivating. But I'm guessing it works both ways, right?
exactly.
So, like, the bad habits, they can compound too.
They can. He's saying we need to pay attention to those seemingly insignificant choices that we make every single day.
Okay, like what? Give me some examples.
Like hitting that snooze button instead of getting up for that run.
Yep, been there.
Scrolling through social media for hours instead of working on that project we've been putting off.
It's all those little things.
They add up.
Yeah.
Day after day after day.
So it all comes back to being intentional, right?
Yes.
Recognizing that we have the power to choose.
Yes. Every single day.
Every single day, we can choose the habits that will help us grow and the ones that might be holding us back.
And you know what? He doesn't just stop at habits.
Okay.
He also talks about failure,
Oh, interesting.
which a lot of self-help books kind of shy away from. But he tackles it head on.
I like that.
Yeah. And he makes this argument that failure isn't the opposite of success, but a stepping stone to it.
Okay, I love that he's really challenging that traditional definition of success.
Right.
You know?
And he shares all these stories.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Of people who faced massive rejection and setbacks early in their careers.
Like who? Give me some names.
J.K. Rowling, getting rejected by multiple publishers for Harry Potter.
Oh, wow.
Stephen King having a nail on his wall for all the rejection slips he got.
Okay, but they obviously went on to have incredibly successful careers.
Exactly, that's his point.
Gotcha.
He even quotes Morihei Ueshiba, the
Mhm.
founder of the Keto, saying, "Failure is the key to success. Each mistake teaches us something."
It's a good reminder that setbacks are inevitable. They're going to happen, but it's what we do with them that really matters.
Exactly.
So instead of letting those setbacks derail us, he's encouraging us to dust ourselves off,
Yes.
figure out what went wrong, and then use those experiences to grow, to learn, and become more resilient.
Yes, and he even talks about the importance of forgiveness. both for ourselves and for others.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It is.
Like if we can learn to forgive ourselves for our mistakes
Right.
and forgive others for theirs.
Yeah, because everyone makes mistakes. It's part of being human.
Exactly. Holding on to that guilt and resentment only holds us back in the long run.
It does. It eats away at you.
So he seems to be advocating for this very growth-oriented mindset, embracing challenges, learning from mistakes, and using those experiences to become more resilient, both personally and professionally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he takes it a step further.
Okay.
He applies this mindset to how we present ourselves to the world.
How so?
He talks about the importance of attitude and how it shapes not only our own experiences,
Right.
but how other people perceive us as well.
Okay, so how does he suggest that we can cultivate a more positive attitude? Especially when, like we were talking about earlier, teenagers face so many challenges on a daily basis.
He gives this example
Okay.
of walking into a room, right? So imagine someone hunched over, messy hair, frowning,
Okay, I can picture that.
right? Now picture someone else walking in, head held high, smile on their face, making eye contact.
Oh, yeah, total energy shift.
Right.
It's palpable.
And he even gets into the science behind it.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, he talks about how smiling, for example,
Okay.
not only makes you more approachable to other people, but it releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting and stress-reducing effects.
So it's not just about being polite, it's actually good for you.
It is.
Interesting.
And it goes beyond just, a physical smile. It's about your actions as well.
Okay, so, like, give me an example. What does that look like?
Being courteous to others.
Right.
Listening attentively when someone's speaking to you.
Right.
Showing respect to everyone.
Right.
Regardless of, their age, their background, all of that.
It's about creating a more positive and respectful environment.
Exactly.
And it starts with us, right?
It does.
It starts with each individual making that choice.
And he offers this great suggestion.
What's that?
He says to find an accountability partner.
An accountability partner. Okay.
Someone that you trust who can help you stay on track with your goals, whatever those goals might be.
Oh, I like that. So it's like having a built-in support system.
Exactly. It could be a friend, a family member, a mentor, anyone who can offer encouragement when you need it,
Right.
hold you accountable, and then also celebrate those wins with you.
It's like having your own personal cheering squad.
Yes.
Speaking of which, this young author, it sounds like he has a really great support system himself.
Yeah.
I mean, who else is out there encouraging a teenager to, like, sit down and write a whole book about financial literacy and all this stuff?
It's pretty rare.
I know, right?
It's impressive.
It's very impressive.
It is.
And he doesn't just skim the surface either.
No, he goes deep.
He dives right in, talks about things like compound interest, investing, even like starting your own business.
Which is great.
I know. Yeah.
Especially for young people to be thinking about those kinds of things.
It's so important. And it reminds me of that saying, if you don't learn to manage your money, someone else will learn to mismanage it for you.
That's a good one.
But he's not just telling these teens to, pinch pennies and save every dollar they earn, is he?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He also talks about the importance of giving back, using your resources, no matter how big or small they may be,
Right.
to make a positive impact in the world around you.
I love that.
He emphasizes that.
It's not all about, me, me, me.
It's not. He's saying that true success isn't just about financial wealth.
Right.
It's about living a life that is aligned with your values.
Yes. And that includes
Making a difference.
making a difference.
It's clear from reading this author is wise beyond his years.
He really is. And what I find so inspiring is that he's not just preaching these ideas.
Right.
He's actually living them. You know what I mean?
He's walking the talk.
He is. He's walking the talk. He's demonstrating that you don't have to wait until you're older
You
to
don't.
start living a meaningful life, an impactful life.
And I think that's such an important message for young people to hear, because it's easy to fall into that trap of thinking, oh, I'll wait till I'm older. I'll wait till I have more money. I'll wait till I have more experience. But he's saying, no, you can start right now.
He's a walking, talking example of his own principles.
Yeah.
And to top it all off, he's encouraging other young people to get out there and make a difference as well.
It's like this ripple effect of positivity.
And action.
Yes.
Love that.
And for our listeners, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from all of this.
What's that?
It's a call to action, an invitation to reflect on your own life, your habits, your choices, your aspirations, and to ask yourself, what small step can I take today to move a little bit closer to the life that I really want to live?
It's recognizing that we all have the power to create that positive change, both in our own lives and in, the lives of others. in the world around us.
Exactly, and it starts with that first step, that commitment to growth and to action.
I love that.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious what resonated most with you.
Ooh, that's a great question for all of us to think about.
Mm.
For me, it's the reminder that wisdom can come from the most unexpected places.
It's true.
Who knew that? Like a teenager's self-help book would be so insightful
Right.
and
You
thought-provoking.
never know where you're going to find these little nuggets of wisdom.
It's true. It's a good reminder to never underestimate the power of a fresh perspective.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think we'll leave our listeners with this final thought.
Yeah.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Ooh, I like that.
So what will your first step be?
Love it. Thanks for joining us on this very inspiring deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep growing.